be me. It's a little bit of a close-up. I'm trying to get adjusted so you can't see as much as only what you need to see. So I'm going to give you a short, quick update on the progress of my project. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to turn up the music a little bit because I can't hear it. So needless to say, I'm pretty excited about my project because I think I'm probably the only person in the whole world that's building a project of this complexity and type. Now, granted, this project is basically an interferometer. It's okay. That's the beginning. But then we got a way to tune out the carrier wave and just leave the noise and the signal that no one else has ever done before in the whole wide world. I'm the only one that's ever going to been able to do it. Now, of course, I got the theory, but I haven't put it down into practice yet. So that's what I'm gonna have to do is once we build this thing, we test it. You know, you test the interferometer, make sure the laser lights is all pointed up really nice. Because you have a carrier wave that comes down and then it comes back up and it kind of goes out wherever the hell that finger is, and then you got another wave that comes out, and that wave that comes out also, it has the carrier wave in it. And so I've devised a method to eliminate the carrier wave and leave nothing but the signal. No one has ever done this. Matter of fact, the only way to do this trick is with an interferometer. That's right, folks. That's the only way to get rid of the carrier waves. You got to have the interferometer. Well, that's an important thing. So this particular project, once it gets done, my valuation of this project is going to be between $5,000 and $10,000. Okay, once it gets all built. Now, if it works to the complexity and accuracy and precision that I want to make it work, this baby right here could be worth $100,000, easy. $100,000, easy. For a couple of reasons. Number one, it's very sensitive, it's very accurate, and number two, it's portable. That's right, folks. You can take this baby anywhere in the whole wide world, do a setup, do some experiments, and you can go move to a different place with different energy and repeat the same information, get the same information, and you can travel all across the country and pick off these little bits and pieces of data, and then when you come back home, you can take all the data from all the different points around the country, even the whole world for that matter. You know, if there was that ability to do that. But that's not the main goal of the you could take this thing, you could take it, and you could do some ghost hunting with it. You could go into haunted places and use this equipment to get a live, direct voice communication of spirits or entities that might exist in those upper dimensions. Possibly, you know. It's kind of like the idea of why I'm building this thing, but I'm doing something, I'm going a lot deeper, and I was thinking, you know, I think what I'm going to do, right now my project is on hold because I've got some problems that I have to deal with and fix, and so, you know, we don't have problems in life, we have solutions. So I'm putting things kind of away, you know, setting them aside. Guarantee you that I'll be back on this next week once things get settled down a little. The platform has been built, the framework of all of the where the mirrors and the beam splitter and all that stuff goes, that's been done. I finally I think I came up with an idea to place the light source. I'm finding out that the light source placement is critical. It may be just as critical as the placement of the the two mirrors inside the interferometer. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm going to take it as a fact that the placement of the light source, exactly where that is, I don't know yet. I don't know exactly how that's going to figure into the entire setup. But I got to tell you again, I've got, most of this project's built with plastic, right? And so it just so happens that I had a couple of printers, old printers, like 3 or 4 printers that were just no good. And I figured, well, I'll keep them for the gears, right? So I stripped those printers right down to the plastic. And I discovered things in the plastic. I said, oh, I can use this. And so at first, I was going to use, so there's 2 adjustments. There's a coarse adjustment and there's a fine adjustment for the mirrors. And so, not the main mirrors of the interferometer, but the 2 mirrors that go before the beam splitter. The beam splitter is fixed. Mirrors number 1 and 2. Number 2 is kind of variable. Number 1 is supposed to be a fixed placement. And then number 2 is measured off of number 1, and so on and so forth. But there's 2 mirrors where the source comes down into the unit, and it bounces off one mirror, and that signal bounces off into the grating. Sorry about that. Deal with it. And the grating signal, the light source goes into the grating, and the grating bounces down into the beam splitter. Well, the distance between the adjustment of the grating has to be such that it can be rotated like this, and it can be, it has to be adjusted this way and this way. Well, originally I was going to use these rods. These are threaded rods, and they're about 12 inches long. And I was going to fabricate something on the end of these in order to tune the rods outside of the case, outside of the unit. And so, yeah, it's a good idea, right? Well, I ran into a problem with the rods being straight. So they might look straight. I mean, I do have a couple of really good straight ones. But I decided, because the rods don't have the ends, the flat end on it, that I can connect the adjuster. The adjuster screw has to meet up against this, okay? And so I was going to put a piece of plastic on here with a flat end, and so the adjuster can bump up against the plastic, and that acts as a coarse adjustment for one of the mirrors up top. There's a mirror number 1, and there's the grating, right? And so, okay, that's all well and good, but these things are kind of expensive. I don't have a lot of money to go around, all right? And so in my piles of equipment, I found some short pieces of this 1024 threaded rod, and they're like, I don't know, 3 inches long or something, right? And so I calculated that I can use a 2-inch piece. Out of 12 inches, I get 6 pieces. And so I need 3, 6, I need a total of 9 altogether. Well, this is a 1024 rod, and so I went to the hardware store where I work, and I thought, well, why not bring this down a level, or bring the experiment up a level? This is a 632 rod. It's got a finer adjustment for the screws, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that, if I really need that fine adjustment, because that adjustment, this is the coarse adjustment. And so I thought, well, maybe I can use the thicker rods for the 2 mirrors, and I can use this one to adjust the beam splitter. And that is a coarse adjustment. So it's going to have a screw, it'll have a spacer, and it's going to have tension, it's going to have springs. All the mirrors and the beam splitter and all that stuff, it's going to have tension. They're going to be tension springs. And so they'll be forcibly out of alignment to a certain tension, so that I can go plus minus that alignment and somewhere in the middle there'll be a balance of the forces on all 4 of the springs around the beam splitter and so on. So it's kind of critical to try to get the same amount of force on each of the springs, and I can do all of that adjustment. The framework that's on the platform is exterior from the actual case. And so once the interior is all built with all the mirrors and everything, I can slide that baby right inside the case, and if there's a major problem, I can pull it out and fix it and put it back in. Very smart idea. At first I was thinking, I'm going to build it on the side of the case and stuff like that. Half the case is sitting over here. And I thought, well, it's actually going to be in the middle, and I wanted space. I got a 12-foot wide space in the unit, and the sides of the space are very finely polished aluminum. So my idea is to have a lot of light interference. So normally you wouldn't want that. You would want a dark area and so on in order to get the best signal, to get the cleanest signal. You want everything dark, and you just want to look at that noise, right? And so in the end, that's the goal. But in the very beginning, we're going to do worst case scenarios and run the tests and that kind of thing. So that's kind of that story. Now, I decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a second interferometer. Yeah, you heard it. I'm going to build another one. I already have all the parts, but this one's going to be different. The main one that I've been working on is the really complex, very expensive. It's not expensive to build, but once it's built, it's going to be extremely expensive and valuable. And I've got enough material in order to build another one. And the other one that I'm going to build, I may have vibration. I may have some foam and stuff that the whole unit sits on. And that foam and stuff will be identical to the expensive one. But the mirrors, the mounting, the light source might be different. There's going to be no springs involved with the mirrors. Everything is going to be solidly connected to the platform. I'll drill holes in the platform. It might be made of wood. It's probably going to be made of wood, the second one. It may or may not be temperature controlled to some extent. It will be sealed, and the reason for that is to compare. I could use the second one as a comparison to the expensive one as far as vibration and stuff goes. Maybe it's a thought. Because this expensive one, it's rather complex, and I'm having the idea to build it all. It's no big deal. No problem. I can do it. The idea for the light source is to have a box on top of the center of the unit. I've got a mirror that comes down. It takes the light source and bounces the mirror down into the it goes through a slit, a larger slit, and it goes down into the unit. The unit is going to be hermetically sealed as best as possible. It will have some of the air vacuumed out, and it will be temperature cooled to some temperature. And it will be, the atmosphere inside will be absolutely 100% stable. It's going to be dust free. It's going to be humidity free. It's going to be very accurately temperature controlled. And I'm wanting to have, maybe I can put a slurring device inside of that as well, along with the other unit, in order to see the vibrations of the whatever's happening in the atmosphere. So like, it's going to be cool, but what's going to happen is somehow there's going to be some kind of temperature cool. I have no idea how I'm going to do that, because it's going to be this gradient, and I'm thinking the cold air, so hot air rises. So since hot air rises, I'm going to build the coolers up top. The cool air will float down to the bottom, and it will take a long time to stabilize. It may take 24 to 48 hours to stabilize a temperature inside the unit. And then once, if there's a problem or something, I got to pull that damn thing out. I'm going to have a plastic in there that will kind of just open up, and I can pull the unit out. But the problem with that is it's just major problems. But in the wintertime, my house is generally kind of cold, and I'm going to have a dehumidifier and stuff right here, so I'll know what the ambient temperature and humidity is and all of that stuff. And then I can change that information inside the box and kind of equalize it, if I gotta do anything. So when the temperature changes inside the unit, the problem is that the mirrors, they may expand or contract depending on the temperature. And so I've noticed that some of the designs, they'll put the mirror inside this holder, and it's got these screws, and the mirror itself is in a solid type of a container, and so it's got no room to expand. All of these $1 million effing interferometers have these they're not even using temperature cooling. There's air going everywhere. I mean, it's just really, really, I'm very, very sad to see these universities spend this kind of money on all this equipment and not know how to use it. Okay? I'm an electronics person. Okay? I'm not an optical person, but I understand the idea about quality and accuracy and precision and the scientific method and laboratory and experimental and theory and all that stuff. You got to have stability. Stability is of utmost importance. If you don't have stability in your system for what I'm trying to do, there's no way that I'm going to get the information that I want. Now, that being said, a very smart, intelligent man once said, that being said, there's the idea of the project, in my opinion, is at least 10 times more sensitive than what I need it to be. Pretty damn cool, if you ask me. So, the information that I'm trying to get, theoretically, is going to be mechanically already available, and the amplification and filtering, theoretically, is going to be very, very easy to do and very easy to control. Now, it's possible, there's always these possibilities that maybe it's what I'm looking for, because the signals are in the light waves. Light waves are very, very, very small and tiny. That fact alone may present this problem. All the experiments and everything that everybody's done with lasers and light and yada, 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 has to do with modulation of light waves. You take this light wave, it's like my finger, right? This is how big the light wave is, all right? And so the light wave's bouncing up and down like this, all right? We're not doing that. We're not doing that. This is not what I'm doing. My light wave is going to be modulated, but it's not going to be like this. It's not going to be like this. It's not going to be like this. It's not going to move at all. The modulation is going to exist inside of the light beam. No one's ever done this. Now you can bounce the light beam off a mirror like this and vibrate the mirror. And again, if you vibrate the mirror like this, what's going to happen? You're going to get longitudinal waves like this going back and forth. We're not doing that. However, that being said, there's a device that's called the Spiricom device, and the Spiricom device uses 11 tones, and we are going to modulate mirror number 2 once we get to the thing all stabilized. We're going to modulate mirror number 2 with those tones and feed them back into the light wave. But, like I said before, we're going to eliminate the carriers of the light wave and leave just the tones coming through, and the tones are going to vibrate with all of the ambient light that's inside of the case, and that's the whole reason for having all of that light, that extra light bouncing around and crap. So the tones go through the mirror, but there's something else. There's what's called the test object, all right? So the test object kind of like exists, like this is the mirror that vibrates, this is the test object here. The test object could be a translucent crystal, it could be a piece of plastic, it's translucent, it's whatever it needs to be, okay? I've got probably 20 or 30 or 40 different ideas to put in there for a test object. and we are going to send those tones through the test object, and that test object is going to it's going to have the extra creation of this noise that's bouncing around and crap, and these tones are going to go in like this into the thing, and then it's going to go through and go up to the detector and so on and so forth. Yes, this causes, what this will do is it's going to go back and forth, and it's going to cause the light beam to get modulated in this direction. In a sense, that might be called pulse width modulation or pulse wave modulation or QAM. I'm not exactly sure. Or a frequency modulation. That's what I think that is, because it's changing the frequency of the light wave, right? But the tones are audio. So you're doing audio modulation of a light wave, and I don't see the relevance of that. I have no idea of the relevance of it. But it's an idea. And it's an idea that needs to be tested. It's a simple idea. So, why not? So that's my update. I'm going to watch me a good movie. I did some things today. I worked ungodly amounts of hours, and I'm stressed out. I'm tired. I've had a major problem, kind of a major crisis, but I'll tell you something. Everything that's ever happened and everything I've ever done, there's always been something there to save my ass, And the one thing that I am thankful. I am reverent and I am thankful. And some other people or some other person might say that I'm not, or I have some weird thing about me, something's wrong with me. Well, I got news for you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with me, and I know for a fact that what I'm doing is what was meant to be done 20 years ago. This project was meant to be done 20 years ago, but the problem there is that I didn't have all the information. There's information out there now that never existed 20 years ago. And we're talking about quantum electrodynamics, we're talking about string theory, we're talking about the observance of photons, we're talking about the fact that photons are not particles. Whoa, yeah, you heard it. This is all the research that I've been doing about this. And so 10 or 15 or 20 years from now, there might be some other information that was needed, something in the light wave, something to do with time and space, and bridging the gap to infinity. That's my goal. So after the interferometer is built and tuned, and we do some basic tests and kind of play around with it, if it does get tuned, if I can't tune this thing, this interferometer, my 1 or 2 months worth of work is going to go right out the door. But I don't believe that. I don't believe that for 1 minute, because I've studied everything. I've studied how to get the fringes. You got to get the fringes, you got to get the alignment and all that stuff. And it's there. It's easy. The idea is easy. The practicality of building it is not. And I'm very confident with that. And that confidence, and I have a wonderful person, my wife, that is very supportive of my project, and she even understands a little bit about what I'm doing. And I appreciate that. I appreciate every single person that's ever come before me, all the way back 2,000 years, okay? I learned from all of these people, and I read the books, and I got tons and tons of electronic books and physics books, and it just goes on and on and on. Like, this is my destiny. No one in this entire world is doing this. Nobody. Oh yes, we've had people trying to do things with lasers and do direct voice, and oh yeah, we can just use some lasers and bounce them off a speaker, and yeah, we got voices coming through. Well, okay, fine. Where's the evidence? Where's the scientific proof that what you're listening to is real? And the answer to that question is that you've got to do this in a way that is not subjective. And one of the ways of doing that with this, to eliminate this subjectivity, is to use different languages. You can use math. You can use music. You can use a different language. Ask spirits to talk in Spanish or in German or in Arabic, in some other different language that you have no idea what this language is. But it's very clear, it's very spoken, and it is very real, and it is something that's not going to come out of your head. You know? I know German, I know Spanish, I know a little bit of Russian, I know Latin. Not very good at Latin, but I've got to work on my Latin. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to write down these basic phrases in these different languages. And if I get a voice that comes across and starts speaking in this language, hey, this isn't me, number one. This is not me. Number two, oh, you can use an AI. We can use AI. We got AI now. I'm talking like a card game that uses the lowest card in the deck to take all the cards. You go figure. So, yes, there is AI, but AI can be, it's just, what's the point in that? You're doing a scientific investigation. I've always wanted to mess with AI and have the AIs talking to each other, right? Never got around to it. I do know some computer programming, and I will have to get into some computer programming in order to, I want to do some calculations regarding the origin of pi and phi. I've discovered that the Fibonacci sequence is related to the golden ratio, the golden circle. I'm like, what the fuck? I never knew this. And so the golden ratio is a spiral. It's an outgoing spiral that was actually used to build the pyramid of Egypt, the big-ass, great big pyramid. And so it's got this design in there. And so the design of the golden circle fits the Fibonacci sequence. And there's a certain number, and there's a certain distance, and so on and so forth, and that kind of thing. It's kind of special. I don't need to do a whole lot of math to do what I'm doing. There's what's called the tuning cavity. The tuning cavity is going to be introduced into the interferometer. The tuning cavity is not two mirrors bouncing back and forth, although, maybe there's something to that. But that's not the point of the tuning cavity. The point of the tuning cavity is to focus two sets of beams in the space in the tuning cavity and focus on that space and find out if we can fine-tune those lenses to get a very small pinpoint and use that and go and zoom into that pinpoint and look for points of infinity and try to correlate those pictures with the noise signals with the detector. That's where the real technology is going to come in. And that's the whole story, and I am done. I thank you for watching. And you have seen me do FaceTime. I got no shirt on, but hey, I'm telling you right now, what I'm doing is I'm the only person doing this in a whole wide world, and because of that, I feel pretty damn good about it. And so I will leave you with some interesting little music here. Let's try this one right here. And hopefully it's not too loud and won't burst your ears out. But yeah, it almost did. Let's try this one. So we're going to listen to this music. We're going to go into a couple minutes of meditation and thought and reflection, and thankful that we have a life. We have one life, one opportunity, one chance in a billion to do something that nobody's ever done before. And everybody has a talent. Everybody has a talent. We all have talents. It's up to you. It's up to you to go find them. Have a nice night. That's my meditation. Sorry to break the wind, but hey, have a good night.